Imagine this. You're sitting in a meeting. Someone says something you know is wrong. Your chest tightens. Your throat wants to speak. But your lips remain shut. And in that moment, a small part of you dies. Later, you replay the scene in your mind, crafting the perfect words you could have said. But it's too late. Why didn't you speak? What held you back? And what if this happens not just in meetings, but in love and family, in friendships, until one day, you've lived an entire life muted by invisible chains? Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Today we're going to shine a light on those shadows, the 7 psychological traps that keep you from saying what you really think. In the age of social media, we are constantly told to speak our truth, use our voice, be authentic. Yet so many of us, smart, self-aware, articulate people, still freeze when the moment comes. We tell ourselves it's because we're being polite, or professional, or it's not the right time. But the real reason? It runs deeper, much deeper. Beneath the surface, hidden in the unconscious, are ancient psychological forces that shape our behavior. Forces Jung dedicated his life to mapping. Today we'll walk through 7 of these traps, not just to understand them intellectually, but to see them, feel them, and learn how to break free. Because until you see these traps, they will own you. Jung called it the persona, the social mask we wear to survive in society. It's not fake and it's functional. Your persona is the version of you designed to be acceptable, likable, safe. But here's the trap. When you over-identify with your persona, it stops being a mask you wear and becomes the skin you live in. For example, imagine a young employee, fresh out of college, who quickly learns that in her company, people who go along to get along get promoted. She builds a persona of the agreeable, easygoing team player. It works until one day she's in a board meeting where a bad decision is about to be made. She knows she should speak up, but to do so would break the image she spent years perfecting. And the fear of losing that image outweighs the need to speak the truth. It's like living inside a beautifully painted cage. It's comfortable, but you can't spread your wings. Jung warned, the persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself and others think one is. When we confuse the mask for the self, truth becomes dangerous because it threatens the mask. To escape the persona prison, you must remember it's a mask, not your face. Practice speaking in small, low-stakes moments to remind yourself that you are more than the role you play. The shadow is everything about ourselves we reject, deny, or find unacceptable. It's not evil by default. It's simply what we've pushed into the basement of our psyche. Here's the danger. The shadow doesn't disappear. It leaks out in our silences, our hesitations, our sudden shame. For example, a man grows up in a family where anger is forbidden. He learns to be calm, collected, reasonable, but in truth he has natural impulses for confrontation and power. When a colleague steals credit for his work, he knows he should address it. But the moment he feels that heat in his chest, the shadow whispers, "Anger is bad. Don't go there." So he swallows it. It's like trying to speak while holding a beach ball underwater. The more you push it down, the harder it bursts up in unexpected places. Passive aggression, sarcasm, burnout. Jung wrote, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The shadow's gag order is lifted only when we accept that the feelings we've labeled as bad are part of us and can be expressed consciously. Ask yourself, what emotion am I trying not to feel right now? Sometimes, the thing you're afraid to express is the exact thing that needs to be said. Some silences aren't yours at all, they're inherited. Jung believed in the collective unconscious, a shared psychic inheritance passed down through generations. For example, a woman hesitates to disagree with her boss. On the surface, it's professional courtesy. But dig deeper, and you find her grandmother was raised in a war-torn country where speaking out could mean imprisonment. Her mother, without even realizing, passed down the survival lesson, keep your head down. Now, decades later, the echo still shapes her behavior in a safe office in a modern city. It's like inheriting a locked door in your mind, without realizing the key has been in your pocket all along. The patterns of silence can be archetypal, rooted in humanity's long history of needing to belong to survive. Breaking them isn't just personal, it's generational work. When you find yourself silenced, ask, whose voice is this really? Sometimes you're not defying your own fear. You're defying your ancestors. We are social creatures, but there's a fine line between seeking connection and becoming enslaved to approval. For example, a content creator sees misinformation spreading online. She knows she should correct it, but she hesitates, afraid of losing followers, likes, sponsorship deals. The need for digital applause outweighs the need for truth. It's like living in a house where every wall is a mirror. You start adjusting yourself constantly, not based on what's right, but on how you look. When our sense of self depends entirely on others' reactions, we're trapped in what Jung might call a participation mystique, a blurred boundary between ourself and the crowd. The approval you fear losing is temporary. The self-respect you gain from speaking your truth lasts far longer. For many, speaking the truth means stepping into conflict. And for those who fear conflict, silence feels safer. A father avoids telling his teenage son that his behavior is destructive because he's afraid of pushing him away. But the unspoken truth festers, and the relationship erodes anyway. It's like refusing to clean a wound because you don't want to hurt the patient. In the end, the infection does far more damage. Avoiding conflict is often a projection. We imagine the other person as the monster, when in reality, we're terrified of our own capacity to be forceful or assertive. Conflict isn't the enemy. Dishonesty is. Inside us lives a voice, the harsh inner critic. It says, "Don't say that, you'll sound stupid. You're overreacting. You don't have the right." An artist sits in a panel discussion. She has a revolutionary idea about the creative process. But the critic says, "You haven't published enough to speak with authority." She stays quiet and the moment passes. It's like having a guard dog in your mind that barks at every attempt to leave the house. Often this inner critic is an internalized, complex, formed from voices of authority in our early life. Jung saw complexes as splinter personalities, each with their own emotional charge hijacking the ego. The critic is loudest when you're closest to saying something important. Use it as a signal. If my critic is panicking, maybe this is worth saying. This is the most subtle trap. Sometimes we don't speak our truth because we sense that if we do, something will change forever. A woman knows she must tell her partner she no longer wants the same life path. She delays not because she doubts her truth, but because she knows that once spoken, the relationship may end. It's like holding onto a burning rope, not because it's comfortable, but because you fear the free fall. Jung believed the individuation process, the journey to becoming your true self, requires death and rebirth of old identities. Speaking your truth is often the first step toward that death, and death, even symbolic, is terrifying. Transformation always costs something, but so does staying silent. The question is, which cost will you choose? We silence ourselves for many reasons. The mask we wear, the shadows we hide, the echoes of our ancestors, the lure of approval, the fear of conflict, the choke of the inner critic, the dread of transformation. But beneath all of them lies one truth. When you swallow your words, you swallow yourself. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Your voice is not just a tool for communication. It's the bridge between your inner world and the outer one. Every time you speak your truth, you lay another plank on that bridge. So the next time your chest tightens, your throat constricts, and your mind says, "Better not," pause. Remember the cage, the beach ball, the mirrors, the locked doors. Remember that silence is not always peace. It can be the slow erosion of your soul. And then speak. Even if your voice shakes, even if the world shakes with it,